Now, as far as the other type of high-level assessments, which are the tests or exams, we have two types of exams, take-home exams and proctored exams. Now, take-home exams are exams from some of these question banks. I had mentioned that the automatically graded questions, we were setting them up with a limited number of submissions. It was not unlimited. It was limited. Well, we use the same type of website for that question bank. But when it is a take-home exam, they only have is very limited. They only have one submission because it's a take-home exam. Now, the difference is that when the exam opens, they have 48 to 72 hours to answer the exam. They know when you submit an answer, it's just one submission. So they could look at the question for a good 48 hours, work out in detail, and once they're sure, they can go and submit the answers for the questions that are going to be graded automatically. However, some of those questions in the take-home exam are going to be graded manually. In the same spirit of what they're doing with these portfolio exercises every week, so what we're doing is using the question bank to generate a randomized version of that question. And then each student is going to go and write on paper, scan the handwritten word, and then submit their handwritten answer to that question. You have a question, yes?
What is to prevent them from simply taking the question and typing it into Wolfram Alpha and typing the answer out?
Yeah, Wolfram Alpha is, for those of you that are not familiar, Wolfram Alpha is like a artificial intelligence, you would say, website or something like that. There are online calculators like Wolfram for linear algebra that would compute reduced rational form matrices and would give step-by-step, like the raw operations. And Wolfram, I think with subscription, would give you also step-by-step. So, true, there are limitations with the take-home examinations, even when you're collecting answers from the students that you're grading manually. But these are groups of students that you're also grading manually every week. So you can start seeing certain patterns there. The important thing is that there is a balance. I admit there are some limitations, but there is a balance between proctored exams and take-home exams. So the proctored exams are proctored at professional testing centers. They are also exams that have short answer questions typically graded automatically and free answer questions that are graded manually. The questions are displayed in a computer. The short answer, short answer could be matching, multiple choice, sometimes literally short answer, just write a number, write a phrase there. But then the computer is displaying certain questions that are free answer questions in the same spirit as the portfolio exercises. Those questions are answered in an examination book or blue book, a little booklet where they write by hand. Calculators are not allowed in the proctored examination. So the take-home exams have maybe the weakness that, well, there could be extra help. You mentioned, Rick, that what if they have a computer with artificial intelligence doing the exam for them? Well, it could be their cousin or the little brother, their big sister or somebody. It could be a human too. The other form of intelligence is not artificial. This is like organic, right? But there is a combination. There is a balance. They have to pass the take-home exams. They have to also pass the proctored exams. So here's a sample on the bottom. There are two questions. They're really small here for you to see, but on the left you have a matching question. On the right you have a multiple choice. And then in the middle and the bottom, the middle there is a word problem. In the bottom there is a question with part A and part B. Those are free answer questions. And this is kind of what this is how they answer. They use one of these so-called blue books. And even though they're in front of a computer reading the question, they start writing by hand on paper, on this pencil and paper on this booklet. And what I'm sharing with you here is what the students' answers was, and then the type of notes that I would write, a lot of errors and notes about steps that were missing or things that, they were supposed to do or things of that sort. So this was a way that we found in which we could basically integrate one of the best practices of traditional instruction with distance learning instruction, in which we could provide feedback to the online student exactly in the same way we would provide feedback to an on-ground or in-person student. So as far as the balance between take-home and proctored exams, 3 options here. And this should not be a surprise. The last option, you look at every single thing that are rectangles. The last thing doesn't have a rectangle here, and it's because that is more proctored exams are needed. That's the last option. We want more proctored exams. No, unanimously, nobody is saying that more proctored exams are needed. In the middle, there is an option of more take-home exams are needed, and the top answer was we had the right balance between proctored exams and take-home exams. Now, I know you have a question, but let me try to go a little farther, and then I'll come back to your question. So that was as far as the previous thing was about the balance between proctored exams and take-home exams. This is a question about, well, what about the examination books, these blue books, okay? How useful were these blue books during a proctored exam? So 5 options, from extremely to not at all useful. These are the students from Calculus 2. All of them are saying at least this is somewhat useful. Linear algebra, there's a small fraction there of people that were not so thrilled about the examination books, but sizable, most students here are saying very useful or extremely useful. Differential equations, at least somewhat useful, extremely useful. Most of the sample was pointing that, and there is a small, small number of people that were not that thrilled about using the blue books in their exams.